Welcome back to the channel Rare Coins History, where pocket change turns into possibility. If you've ever wondered whether one of those old pennies lying around in your drawers or coin jars could actually be worth serious money, this video might just blow your mind. Because today, we're going deep into the story of one of the most overlooked coins in American history, the 1941 Lincoln wheat penny with a mint mark. Now I know what you're thinking, it's just a penny. It's copper, it's old, and there must be millions of them. And you'd be right, in part. But here's the twist: while most 1941 wheat pennies are worth just a few cents, there are a few very specific versions that are worth thousands, and in one extraordinary case, tens of thousands. And yes, we'll reveal exactly how much at the end, but first, let's set the stage. Picture America in 1941. The world was on edge. World War II was intensifying in Europe and Asia, and the United States was inching closer to involvement. That same year, in December, everything changed when Pearl Harbor was attacked. The nation was suddenly thrust into war. Back home, Americans were focused on unity, sacrifice, and production, building the tanks, ships, and supplies that would help the Allies fight for freedom. In the middle of all this, the U.S. Mint continued doing its job, producing the coins that kept the country's economy going, including the humble 1-cent piece. And it's in this dramatic moment of history that the 1941 Lincoln wheat penny was born. Let's talk about the design for a second. The obverse, or front, of the coin features the proud profile of Abraham Lincoln. This was the first U.S. coin to ever feature a real person when it debuted in 1909, and by 1941, it had become a true American icon. You'll see the phrase, "In God We Trust," above Lincoln's head, "Liberty," to the left, and the date, 1941, on the right. And if your coin has a mint mark, it'll appear just below the date. That small letter could be a D, indicating the Denver Mint, or an S, for the San Francisco Mint. Flip the coin over, and you're greeted by the reverse design known and loved by collectors: two stalks of wheat on either side of the words, 1 cent, and United States of America. At the top, the Latin motto, E pluribus unum, meaning, out of many, one. It's a design that's simple, powerful, and instantly recognizable. Now, let's get to the good stuff. Why a 1941 penny, something millions of Americans once carried in their pockets, could actually be worth a fortune today? The truth is, most of these coins were used in daily life. They bought candy, paid for newspapers, and jingled in soldiers' pockets. Over time, they were scratched, bent, worn down, and eventually forgotten. But here's the thing: some of them survived. A small number of 1941 pennies were never spent. They were carefully preserved in rolls, stored away by collectors, or just plain forgotten in pristine condition, and that's where value starts to climb. Coins are graded on a scale of 1 to 70, with 70 being a perfect, mint-state coin, no blemishes, no wear, and full, brilliant luster. A 1941 wheat penny with a mint mark, graded MS 65 or higher, is already a rare find. But if you happen to have one with an MS 67 or MS 68 grade, that's a coin worth holding onto, because collectors will pay big for that level of quality. But rarity doesn't end there. Some 1941 Lincoln wheat pennies feature minting errors, and this is where things get even more exciting. These errors can include double die obverse, where the text or numbers appear slightly doubled, off-center strikes, clipped planchets, where a portion of the coin is literally missing, and even repunched mint marks. These tiny flaws, created by accident during the minting process, are gold mines for collectors because they're one dash of dash a dash kind. In some ultra-rare cases, 1941 pennies were mistakenly struck on the wrong metal planchets, like those intended for dimes or foreign coins. These are the unicorns of coin collecting. Few exist, and the ones that do can command astonishing prices. Now, let's talk about demand. Wheat pennies are already among the most popular coins to collect in the United States. New collectors often start with them because they're common enough to find, but deep enough to remain exciting for years. That strong demand keeps the value of rare examples climbing, especially those from war-era years like 1941, which have both historical significance and collector appeal. and you don't need to be an expert to start looking. The beauty of coins like the 1941 Lincoln wheat penny is that they can still be found in everyday places. Estate sales. Inherited boxes. Old coin jars that haven't been touched in decades. That means you don't have to spend a dime to potentially make thousands. All you need is a sharp eye and a little bit of curiosity. So if you're going through your old change, or maybe helping your parents or grandparents sort through theirs, keep an eye out for the 1941 penny with a mint mark. Pay close attention to the surface. Look for shine. Look for sharp details. And if you think you have something special, get it professionally graded. You might just uncover a hidden gem, and now, the moment you've been waiting for, there is one known 1941 Lincoln wheat penny with a mint mark, preserved in near-perfect condition and featuring the right traits, that was sold to a collector for an unbelievable $88,000. Yes, 1 cent turned into $88,000. It's a powerful reminder that history can hide in plain sight, and that sometimes the smallest objects carry the biggest stories. So keep searching, keep learning, and never underestimate what a tiny copper coin might be worth. Today's video might just change how you see that jar of pennies sitting on your shelf. We're diving into the fascinating world of the 1950 Lincoln wheat penny with a mint mark. And yes, we'll reveal how much it could be worth today, but only at the very end, so stay with us. Now, we all know pennies aren't exactly the most glamorous coins. Most of the time, they're the last ones we count when digging through change. But here's the thing, the older ones? The wheat pennies? Those have a story to tell, and some of them, including the 1950 version, are hiding incredible value if you know what to look for. Let's take a quick journey back to 1950. It was the start of a new decade. The world was reshaping itself after the Second World War. The Cold War was just beginning, the Korean War had started, and at home, the US was booming with optimism. Television sets were entering living rooms, families were buying homes and cars, and a small copper penny quietly rolled off the presses at US Mint facilities across the country. And that brings us to the coin of the day, the 1950 Lincoln wheat penny. Now, let's break down what makes this little piece of copper so special. The obverse, or front, of the coin features one of the most iconic faces in American coinage, Abraham Lincoln. He's been the face of the penny since 1909, and by 1950, his profile had become instantly recognizable. Across the top, you'll find the words, "In God We Trust." To the left is "Liberty," and on the right, the date, 1950. And if you look closely just beneath the date, you may see a tiny letter. That's the mint mark, which tells you where the coin was made. Now, if you see AD, that means the coin was minted in Denver. If there's an S, it came from San Francisco. And if there's no letter at all, that means it was struck in Philadelphia. Believe it or not, that one little letter can make a world of difference when it comes to a coin's value. Now let's flip the coin to the reverse. Here, we see the classic wheat ears curving gracefully along both sides of the words, 1 cent and United States of America. It's simple, elegant, and loaded with history. The wheat penny design ran from 1909 to 1958, and collectors today cherish every year of this iconic design. But let's get into the part that gets collectors really excited: rarity and condition. You see, not all 1950 wheat pennies are valuable. In fact, most were used, abused, and tossed around for decades. These circulated coins may only be worth a few cents, even today. But if you're lucky enough to find a coin in mint state condition, that's when things start getting interesting. A coin in mint state has never been used in everyday transactions. No scratches, no wear, no discoloration, just clean, sharp detail and brilliant original luster. These coins are incredibly hard to find, especially after more than 70 years. But they do exist, and that's where serious collectors begin to pay serious attention. And then there's the wild card in coin collecting: errors and varieties. Sometimes, a coin is struck just a little off. Maybe the mint mark was punched more than once, called a repunched mint mark. Or perhaps the coin has a double die, where the text or design elements appear doubled. There are also off-center strikes, where the image is shifted, or die cracks, where lines appear across the coin from stress during the minting process. These flaws weren't intentional, but they're incredibly valuable to collectors because they're rare and unique. Each error coin tells a story of how something went slightly wrong at the mint, and that mistake turned into a prized collectible decades later. So now you're probably thinking, okay, I get it. Mint condition is important. Errors make it rare. But how do I know if my 1950 penny is worth anything? Great question. The first step is to look at the condition. If it looks shiny, has no visible damage, and the details are sharp, especially Lincoln's hair and the wheat lines on the reverse, you may have something special. Next, look for the mint mark. Coins from Denver and San Francisco can sometimes command more value, especially if they're in pristine condition or show signs of unusual characteristics. Finally, if your coin really stands out, say it has a visible error or it looks completely different than other wheat pennies you've seen, it's time to get it professionally graded. Grading services like PCGS or NGC can authenticate the coin, assign it a grade between 1 and 70, and officially document its value. Now, we've saved the best for last. One particular 1950 Lincoln wheat penny with a mint mark, preserved in outstanding mint state condition and displaying unique collector interest, was auctioned for an unbelievable $73,000. Yes, you heard that right. 1 cent $73,000. That's the power of numismatics, the art and science of coin collecting. A coin that once bought a piece of candy could now buy a car, a house, or change someone's life. So before you dismiss those old pennies as useless, remember, sometimes the smallest things hold the biggest secrets. And sometimes, what looks like just another coin could be a once-in-a-lifetime treasure. Today's world, but you'd be surprised how much value some of them are packing, especially if you know what to look for. Today, we're diving into the fascinating world of the 1949 Lincoln wheat penny with a mint mark, a coin you might think is just another old cent, but by the end of this video, you'll see why some of these have stunned collectors with their worth. So sit tight, because this could be the coin that turns your spare change into a small fortune. Let's go back to 1949. It was a time of rebuilding and renewal. The Second World War had ended just a few years earlier, and America was rapidly evolving. Soldiers had returned home, the suburbs were growing, and a sense of hope filled the air. In the midst of all this progress, something small and unassuming was being minted at facilities across the country. The Lincoln wheat penny. This little copper coin may not have grabbed headlines at the time, but it's now a hidden star in the world of coin collecting. First, let's talk about the design. The obverse side of the 1949 Lincoln wheat penny still features the profile of Abraham Lincoln, America's 16th president. Above his head, the words, "In God We Trust," remind us of the values that shaped the nation. To the left of his profile is the word "Liberty," and to the right, the date, 1949. But here's what you need to look for closely: the mint mark, located just below the date. If you see a small d, it means the coin was minted in Denver. If you spot an S, it was produced in San Francisco. And if there's no mint mark at all, then it came from the Philadelphia Mint. This little detail, just one tiny letter, can make a surprising difference in how rare and valuable your coin might be. Now flip that coin over. The reverse side shows two stylized wheat ears, one on each edge, curving inward like a protective frame. In between, you'll see the words, 1 cent and United States of America. At the top, the Latin motto, E pluribus unum, meaning, out of many, one. Simple. Historic. Iconic. The wheat penny design was used from 1909 until 1958, and while the 1949 edition might not be as old as some, it's still a part of this treasured chapter in American coinage. Now let's get to what really matters: why this coin might be worth far more than just a single cent. You see, most 1949 pennies were used in daily life. They were passed from hand to hand, spent on candy, soda, and newspapers. They were dropped, scratched, worn down, and eventually tossed into jars or forgotten. But a rare few managed to survive in near-perfect condition. These are what collectors call mint state coins, coins that have never been in circulation, still shiny and detailed, just like the day they left the mint. Grading plays a major role here. Coins are graded on a 1 to 70 scale, with 70 being a perfect, flawless example. Most 1949 pennies you'll find in the wild might grade somewhere between 10 and 40. But those rare ones in the 60s, especially MS 65, MS 66, or higher, can attract serious attention in the collector market. And then there are the errors and varieties. Let's say your 1949 penny has a repunched mint mark, where the letter D or S was accidentally stamped more than once. Or maybe it's got a double die, where the lettering or date appears faintly doubled due to a misalignment in the die process. These kinds of errors are rare, and when paired with great condition, they can launch the coin's value into the stratosphere. Even off-center strikes, die cracks, or planchet flaws can create one-of-a-kind versions of the 1949 penny that collectors are eager to add to their collections. But here's the big question: how do you know if you have a valuable 1949 penny? First, take a close look at the coin's condition. Is it clean? Sharp? Does it have original luster? Does Lincoln's hair look defined, or is it smoothed out? Are the wheat stalks crisp and visible? These details matter. If the coin appears pristine, that's your first clue. Next, check for the mint mark. A 1949 D or 1949 S penny in excellent shape could be worth far more than a Philadelphia issue, especially if it has a rare variety or known error. And finally, if your coin seems out of the ordinary, if something about it just looks different, it's worth getting it checked out by a professional. Coin grading services like PCGS or NGC can authenticate and grade your coin, giving it official status and helping you unlock its true market value. Now, I know what you're really here for, the big reveal. So here it is. Point 1. Exceptional 1949 Lincoln wheat penny with a mint mark, kept in remarkable mint state condition and featuring the right combination of rarity and desirability, was auctioned for an astonishing $84,000. Yes, you heard that right. 1 copper penny. Just 1 cent, turned into $84,000. So if you ever thought pennies weren't worth your time, think again. Because every once in a while, a simple coin from 1949 can become a powerful reminder that treasure doesn't always shine the brightest. It just needs to be recognized. Before you toss your change into the tip jar or forget about that old box of coins in the attic, take a closer look. That 1 penny might just change your story. Today, we're unlocking the story behind a coin that may seem ordinary at first glance, but could actually be hiding extraordinary value. We're talking about a tiny piece of copper from the end of a world-changing era, the 1945 Lincoln wheat penny with a mint mark. Now, if you've ever passed over a handful of old pennies thinking they were nothing more than pocket change, this video might just change your perspective forever. Because believe it or not, one of these little coins could be worth tens of thousands of dollars if it has the right traits. So buckle up, because this is more than a coin, it's a time capsule, and maybe even a treasure. Let's rewind history for a moment. The year is 1945. The world is witnessing the final, defining chapter of World War II. Soldiers are returning home, cities are rebuilding, and the United States is standing on the brink of a new era. Patriotism was strong, resources were tight, and every part of American life, including coins, was impacted by the war. In the middle of all this change, the U.S. Mint was hard at work producing the coins Americans used every day. And one of those was the 1945 Lincoln wheat penny. Simple. Reliable. A symbol of daily life in a world that was anything but ordinary. Let's take a closer look at this little piece of history. The obverse of the 1945 Lincoln wheat penny features the unmistakable profile of President Abraham Lincoln, facing right. Surrounding him are the inscriptions, "In God We Trust," across the top, "Liberty," to his left, and the date, 1945, to the right. Just below the date is something that might seem small, but could make a big difference: the mint mark. If you see a tiny D, your coin was struck in Denver. If it's an S, it came from San Francisco. And if there's no letter at all, it was minted in Philadelphia. These tiny letters have massive implications when it comes to scarcity and value. Flip the coin over, and you're greeted by the beloved wheat reverse. 2 elegant wheat stalks frame the central text, 1 cent and United States of America. Above them, the motto, E pluribus unum, Latin for, out of many, one. It's clean, classic, and full of quiet strength. Now, let's talk numbers. The U.S. Mint produced hundreds of millions of Lincoln pennies in 1945. That's right, hundreds of millions. So how could one of these possibly be rare? Well, most of those coins went straight into circulation. They were spent, passed, dropped, scratched, worn down, and eventually tucked away or forgotten. But here's where things get exciting. A small number of these coins survived in mint state, untouched by time, free of wear, and glowing with their original luster. These are the coins that collectors dream about, and then there's another layer, minting errors. Every so often, something would go slightly wrong during the minting process. A double die, where the design is slightly duplicated. A repunched mint mark, where the letter is struck twice. Off-center coins, clipped planchets, or die cracks. These small flaws make the coin stand out, and in the world of numismatics, standing out means being valuable. So how can you tell if your 1945 penny is special? Start with condition. If the details on Lincoln's face are crisp, if the wheat stalks on the reverse are sharp, and if the color still has that original red hue, you could be holding something rare. Add a mint mark, and you've got something even more desirable. Now, check for any unusual features. Are the letters slightly doubled? Is the mint mark struck at an odd angle or repeated? Is the coin off-center? These traits aren't defects, they're bonuses that collectors will pay big money for. Still not sure? Then it's time to have your coin professionally graded. Companies like PCGS or NGC can analyze your penny, assign it an official grade from 1 to 70, and certify its authenticity. Coins that score high, especially those graded MS 65, MS 66, or above, can command incredible prices, and let's not forget the collector's mindset. People love collecting coins from pivotal years, like 1945, a moment when the world changed forever. A mint-condition coin from that year carries not just monetary value, but emotional and historical weight too. That kind of connection drives prices even higher. So by now, you're probably wondering, just how valuable can one of these coins really be? Let's cut to the chase. There is one particular 1945 Lincoln wheat penny, struck with a mint mark and preserved in near-perfect mint state condition, that stunned collectors at auction when it sold for an unbelievable $89,000. That's right. A single copper penny, worth $89,000. It's hard to believe, but that's the magic of coin collecting. These small, everyday objects, coins we once used without a second thought, can become rare, coveted, and incredibly valuable pieces of history. So what are you waiting for? Go check your old change jars, your grandparents' collections, or that box of junk coins you've been meaning to sort through. Because hidden among them could be a coin with a story, a secret, and a whole lot of value. Today, we've got something really exciting to discuss, one of those seemingly ordinary coins that could be hiding a fortune. I'm talking about the 1953 Lincoln wheat penny with a mint mark. This little copper coin might look simple at first glance, but with a closer look, you'll see why it's worth so much more than just 1 cent. So grab your magnifying glass and let's dive into the fascinating world of the 1953 Lincoln wheat penny, where history, rarity, and value all come together in a small yet valuable package. Let's start with some history. The year 1953 was an interesting time for America. The country had been through some monumental events: the end of World War II, the Korean War, and the rise of the Cold War. Life was beginning to change dramatically. The economy was booming, new technologies were emerging, and the American dream was alive and well. But what you might not know is that it was also a time when the U.S. Mint was producing millions of coins, including the Lincoln wheat penny. The Lincoln wheat penny was introduced in 1909 to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. It was beloved by the American people, and for over 4 decades, it was the 1-cent coin in circulation. But in 1953, this classic design was still going strong, and the penny itself was used as widely as ever. On the obverse side of the 1953 Lincoln wheat penny, you'll see President Abraham Lincoln's profile. This image, designed by sculptor Victor David Brenner, has become one of the most recognizable designs in American coinage. Above Lincoln's portrait, you'll see the words, "In God We Trust," a phrase that has been featured on U.S. coins since the Civil War era. To the left is the word "Liberty," and to the right, you'll find the year 1953. Below the year is the mint mark, which is a small but crucial detail in determining the coin's rarity and value. If you see a D, it means the penny was minted in Denver. If there's an S, it was minted in San Francisco, and if there's no mint mark at all, it was struck in Philadelphia. This is where things start to get interesting because, in the world of coin collecting, the mint mark can make a significant difference in a coin's value. The reverse of the 1953 Lincoln wheat penny is just as iconic as the obverse. The two wheat stalks curve inward, framing the words, 1 cent and United States of America, with E pluribus unum above. These wheat stalks represent the country's agricultural roots, and they are a symbol of prosperity and abundance. The overall design is simple yet elegant, making the coin not just a piece of currency but a reminder of American heritage. Now, let's talk about why this coin might be worth a lot more than you think. As with most collectible coins, the condition of the penny plays a huge role in determining its value. Most 1953 pennies were used in everyday transactions, and as a result, they show signs of wear and tear. However, a coin that has survived in mint condition, with sharp details and original luster, is much rarer and much more valuable. For collectors, a mint-state 1953 Lincoln wheat penny is a prized possession, and coins in uncirculated condition can fetch premium prices at auctions or from coin dealers. Another factor that can increase the value of this coin is its rarity. While millions of 1953 Lincoln wheat pennies were produced, only a small number remain in excellent condition. Coins that are well preserved, with little to no signs of circulation, are highly sought after by collectors. A well-kept 1953 penny could easily stand out in a collection, and if it has been graded highly, say, MS-65 or MS-66, it can be worth far more than just its face value. But there's more to the 1953 Lincoln wheat penny than just its condition. Some pennies from this era were struck with minting errors, and these error coins are highly valuable. These can include double die errors, where the design is double due to a mistake during the minting process, or off-center strikes, where the coin wasn't aligned properly in the press. Even a small mistake in the minting process can turn an otherwise ordinary penny into a rare and valuable find. Now, let's talk about how you can tell if your 1953 penny might be a hidden treasure. Start by inspecting the coin's condition. Is it shiny and fresh, like it's never been touched by human hands? Does it have strong, well-defined features, with Lincoln's profile clearly visible and the wheat stalks looking sharp and detailed? If so, it could be a mint-state coin, and that's definitely a good sign. Next, check the mint mark. A 1953 penny with a D for Denver or an S for San Francisco can be much rarer than the standard Philadelphia version. Pay close attention to the quality of the mint mark itself. If it's weak or poorly struck, it could be a sign of a minting error, which could greatly increase the coin's value. Another way to check is to look for unusual features. Is there a slight doubling in the lettering or the date? Does the coin seem a little off-center or slightly misaligned? These imperfections, while rare, can make the coin much more valuable. If you suspect that your penny has an error, it's worth getting it checked by a professional coin grader. Companies like PCGS or NGC can evaluate the coin and give it an official grade, which can help you determine its worth. And now, for the moment you've been waiting for, the market for Lincoln wheat pennies is filled with excitement, and sometimes the price of a rare find can be jaw-dropping. A well-preserved, mint-state 1953 Lincoln wheat penny with a mint mark and even the possibility of a minor error was recently sold at auction for a staggering $73,600. Yes, that's right. A single penny, just 1 cent, could potentially be worth $73,600. And the best part is, you might have one of these coins sitting in your collection right now without even realizing it. So, next time you're digging through your old coin jar or going through those boxes of change that have been sitting around for years, remember to keep an eye out for the 1953 Lincoln wheat penny. It might just be your ticket to a small fortune. If you enjoyed this video and want to stay updated on more amazing coin discoveries, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell. You never know when the next big find is going to happen. Thanks for watching, and happy collecting.